this life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.
We know about Fight Island. It exists. It's Abu Dhabi. It's not much more complicated than that. It's Yas Island on Abu Dhabi. It's not some beachfront affair in the middle of, next to Guam or something. It's not Jeffrey Epstein's private island. It's not any of those things. It's just Yas Island. They've been there twice. This will be a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth time, I suppose. All right, so there's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with the crown jewel of the slate of 4 cards they're going to have in the span of 3 weeks, BC. 3 title fights at UFC 251. For folks who may not know, welterweight title up for grabs. Champion Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns. Featherweight title up for grabs. Champion Volkanovski versus Holloway. This is the immediate rematch from their first bout. And last but not least, certainly Peter Yan fighting Jose Aldo for the vacant bantamweight title. What do you make of Fight Island? What do you make of 251? What do you make of the UFC's push in July? Unpack all this for me, BC.
That's a loaded question. A lot of angles here. Look, first and foremost, I'm sorry. I got to say it. High five to Dana on bringing it. This is the International Fight Week, right? July 11th, when we expect loaded fight cards, multiple title bouts. And we're in the middle of a quarantine, and like he always complains, he's barely keeping the train on the track, yet we're getting a freaking fantastic pay-per-view July 11th, all things considered. 3 title fights, and by the way, the other 2 fights on that main card are hot fire when you consider Namajunas Andrade 2, and also Paige Van Zandt taking a really hard fight against Amanda Hebus. So I love the crap out of that. I love that in a quarantine, Dana is not mailing it in. Luke, I said from the very beginning, and I wasn't sure about it. I said when we were rightfully criticizing Dana for being so bold and almost reckless in Tai Chi Palace and all that, we've been through that there was potential that he comes out of this as a Robin Hood in the end. And Luke, I'm sorry, he is right now. I know there's a fighter pay argument. We're going to get into that again soon, but he's keeping, me employed and busy, you the same, and he's not only outpacing his competitors in boxing and in the team sports, he's putting out really great stuff. So I'm going to say shout out to that. If last Saturday's card, the Calvillo one, was the worst that we'll see this year, I'm sorry, it ain't that bad, okay? But with that said, Luke, this is an absolute bait and switch on Fight Island. This is an absolute, let me, hype up something that really wasn't there. Not only is Yas Island the same island as like Manhattan being an island in New York, they've already been there a few times on that same property. Like this is crap. And for Dana in interviews, Saturday at the post-fight press conference in Vegas to sort of laugh at the media and be like, oh, well, there's new media covering us now. And, they assumed we would have, we assumed that because of you, Dana. We assumed we were going to have sharks with freaking laser beams and guys with machine guns on the beach and Bruce Lee lingering in the ethos because of you. Go to UFC.com/merch or whatever their site is. There's a lot of Fight Island merch out there, and it's pretty badass, and it's all palm trees and islands because of you, Dana. So, Luke, I don't know if this was they had a different island in mind. They tried their best. It didn't work out. Then they just followed the money to Abu Dhabi. And if that's the case, look, it's a freaking quarantine, right? Do what you can to survive. But it's actually Dana's cryptic nature that kept this illusion going. In the end, like, who cares? I wasn't going to fly to Fight Island. I'm not going to fly to Abu Dhabi. I'm grateful that this card is a badass as a fan. I'm grateful as a journalist, all that. But you can't blame any of us for going womp womp. I mean, this is, come on, this is pretty lame. This is pretty lame, Luke. It's pretty lame.
It's super lame. It's super lame. I mean, there's a lot I remember years ago when they had like a press conference, and it was a conference call, but it was, UFC teases huge announcement. We're like, wow, what is this going to be? And the announcement was, we've re-signed with Spike. And we're like, okay, that's it. Like, you're just still going to be on what you've been on. Like, that's the thing. And of course, if you think about it from UFC's perspective, that was a big deal at the time. They probably got more money from Spike at the time, or the deal had probably grown in some kind of way. It was worth, I think, $100 million or more. It was a big deal, but to the average fan, it just didn't feel that way. The thing about Fight Island was, I said this before, BC, you know me, I only cared about getting that Nevada Commission protocol in place because it not only allows UFC to come back, it allows anybody who can follow that protocol to come back. And of course, we saw Top Rank, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. And so that to me was a bigger deal because I'd seen Bodog fight. It's fine for 5 seconds when they're fighting on a beach. And then you're like, okay, but who's fighting and do I care? That's really what you always come back to in the end. It didn't matter to me. But you're right, it is a bait and switch. You can still go, as you mentioned, to the UFC store. You can find Fight Island merchandise. You can go to ufcstore.com/collection/fight-island. They have shirts on there that say Fight Island, location unknown. What? It's not Dr. Evil's lair in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. It's fucking Yas Island. You've been there a few times. What are you talking about? So they clearly, and quite literally, BC, quite literally oversold what Fight Island was all about. But to your point, what are they bringing to the fans there, which is really what I care about. What kind of fights are they bringing there? If you wanted to, if you really wanted to be a hard ass, you could go through, you should say, well, that should be Masvidal taking on Kamaru Usman, not got Gilbert Burns. You could say, why is Aldo in this title fight? You could say, well, Max and Volkanovski, they're the two best featherweights, but shouldn't there be somebody else in the mix? You can be a real hard ass about it, but the totality of all three together on those cards. Plus, by the way, think about this. Speaking of Yas Island, Frankie Edgar's going to make his bantamweight debut on this card against Pedro Munoz. The last time he was here, he won the title from BJ Penn. Talk about a telling of the story of Frankie Edgar's career between then and now. So there's a lot of things that you could really, really sink your teeth into, from storylines to great fights and everything in between. And then the week after that, by the way, the flyweight title is going to be up for grabs. There's a ton to like there. So from a commercial standpoint, they really got out in front of their skis here. From a quality standpoint, in terms of what they're giving the fans, there's a lot to like, and you have to acknowledge it, and I do.
And I'm not against them taking advantage, merch-wise and patent-wise and all that, but like, Dana, you can't then celebrate the fact that we all got fooled, right? It doesn't work that way. But just to close, Luke, since you're a COVID-19 trumpeter of all things safety, we are doing Fight Island supposedly because international people can't fly to the U.S., but isn't Alexander Volkov fighting next week in Vegas and didn't... why are we sending U.S.-based fighters out to Fight Island? I don't know does that really work that way?
I don't know. So for example, Overeem, when he fought in Jacksonville, he flew from Holland. He was in Denver before, but I talked to him that Monday after. He had flown back to Holland. So remember, some fighters can come back and forth. I think the problem is, and a big one is, a lot of the Brazilian fighters can't get here. A lot of, from different place or that place, but they might be able to get as a meeting in the middle to Abu Dhabi. Now, of course, Gilbert Burns and Kamaru could fight here, but they're trying to stack things over there. So that's my understanding. It's not a total restriction on who could be here, but it's enough that it's a problem in the end. So yeah, that's where we're at on that one.
This life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.